Good morning and greetings to my fellow classmates, family, and friends. My name is Samuel Ford. I'll be reading a critical analysis on Tolstoy's How Much Land Does a Man Need? This is a paper that I submitted earlier this year. I'll be asking for you all to provide feedback and comments in three specific areas, which include the evaluation on the clarity of the thesis, the evaluation on effectiveness of the supporting detail, and what, if anything, that you learned from this presentation. A critical analysis of Tolstoy's How Much Land Does a Man Need? A question of morality. Writer of How Much Land Does a Man Need? Tolstoy paints a crystal clear picture of how industrialism can engulf a man's soul. His use of metaphors for land provide a broad platform for readers to visualize the societal ills associated with the prominent emergence of industrialism and the demise of metaphysical completion. While overhearing a conversation between his wife and sister-in-law, the main character Palm is persuaded by his sister-in-law to seek more in life. The devil tricks Palm into feeding his physical desires rather than spiritual. Palm loses sight of who he is and who he once believed. This in turn sparks a flame in Palm that would later lead to his demise. The life lesson of How Much Land Does a Man Need teaches society about the importance of metaphysical completion and catering to spiritual fulfillment rather than catering to one's visual, physical, or financial thirst. If more people were to seek metaphysical completion rather than physical, financial, or visual, emotions can be better managed, causes a reduction in envy, drug abuse, alcoholism, and lack of self-love, which will lead to a reduction in depression, addiction, and lack of self-worth. The first societal issue that the story addresses is envy. Envy can be defined as painful or resentful awareness of an advantage enjoyed by another with the desire to possess that same advantage. Palm hears that one of his neighbors is buying 50 acres of land and becomes envious. Filled with envy and jealousy, Palm states, "Look at this. This land is being sold and I shall have none of it." Palm later pleads, "Other people are buying and we must buy at least 20 acres or so." This allows the reader to see that Palm has lost sight on who he once was. In Palm's eyes, his neighbors becomes prosperous, so he must excel equally or more than others. Palm's lack of desire of metaphysical fulfillment allows envy to take over a once righteous man and creates an undesirable human. Palm was once content with how his family lived, and now envy destroyed that way of thinking. Palm states, "What pleases me best here is your land. Our land is crowded and the soil is exhausted, but you have plenty of land, and it is good land like I've never seen." People who seek metaphysical completion do not desire to be better than others. They're content with where they are in the world and do not feel the need to be jealous or envious of others. If more people were to seek metaphysical completion, they would be content with who they are, where they are in the world, and would feel spiritual appetite rather than appetites that would destroy their soul, such as the need to have an enormous amount of money. This need could corrupt one's soul into stealing, lying, and killing in order to be more prosperous to someone else. Metaphysical completion will fill that void and leave one at peace with themselves. The second societal issue that the story addresses is abuse. In the text, readers are given a metaphor of land. In today's society, the metaphor can correlate to alcohol and drug abuse. Palm seeks land in order to gain power. In gaining power, Palm believes that he will be better than his neighbors. The devil alludes to land bringing happiness to Palm. The devil states, "We will have a tussle. I will give you land enough. By this means that land will give you my power." Alcohol promoters and drug dealers do not sell people the actual product. However, they sell the buyers the notion of happiness. When people abuse alcohol and drugs, they believe that drugs and alcohol will bring happiness and joy. These people look to fill physical and emotional voids. These people have a thirst but lack knowing where the thirst resides and turns to drugs and alcohol to make them feel better. Individuals who seek to fill their own hunger may become unhappy, depressed, and ultimately commit suicide. People who seek metaphysical completion know where their thirst holds residency in the spiritual realm. Thus, they seek God to fill their cups, allowing their cups to have an abundance of blessings. These people are content with where they are in life and know their purpose in life and know that God will provide for their every need. If more people were to seek metaphysical completion, these societal issues can be better handled, which will lead to a decrease in unhappiness, depression, and suicide. The last societal issue that the story addresses is lack of self-love. Palm was once content with himself. However, feeding a thirst which corrupts his soul and leads to Palm killing himself. Palm makes a deal with a man that cannot be refused. All Palm had to do was walk acres, and however many acres he walked would be his land. The night before the walk, Palm dreamed of seeing himself laying on the ground dead. Palm thirst leads him farther and farther from which he originally intended. By the end of the story, Palm deviates so far from his intended destination that he must run in order to reach his intended destination. Not realizing that he's overworking his body, Palm continues to run. His body expires and he dies with blood rushing from his mouth. Palm's dream has come true. Palm thirst provided a barrier against him knowing and loving himself. Without metaphysical completement, Palm does not know when to quit, which later results in his demise by continuously feeding his corrupt thirst, destroying his body. Today, some people lack self-love. They attempt to look like others or look better than others. These people, in turn, destroy their bodies. Issues such as plastic surgery, lip injections, and liposuction are the norm amongst people in today's trends. People who seek metaphysical completement love themselves. They love what God has given them and do not wish to change it. People who do not seek metaphysical completement put toxic chemicals in their body and undergo unsafe procedures to fill that void of self-love. If more people were to seek metaphysical completement, that void would be filled with the love of God. People would be content with themselves and in turn not despise their bodies. And put harmful chemicals in their bodies. In conclusion, Tolstoy's How Much Land Does a Man Need shows people the power of seeking metaphysical completement rather than physical. Metaphysical completement will satisfy the thirst of the soul. Relying on God for metaphysical completement will prevent societal ills associated with envy, abuse, and lack of self-love, such as one losing his soul due to killing, depression, suicide, and death due to unsafe medical procedures. In seeking God for metaphysical fulfillment, people will be content with themselves, lack envy, loving themselves, having self-love, and being happy with oneself, reducing abuse. God will continue to improve one's well-being, reducing the need to satisfy physical needs.